What's up, everybody? I'm C. This is Shawna. CBSpeaks, Better Life Coaching. I'm sure all of you have saw her on TikTok, pretty famous now.
So funny. Ah,
So we're starting this podcast just to give our experience on, healing, spiritual things, and feel free to drop any questions that you guys have. The first episode that we're gonna do is gonna be on healing, what healing looks like, and just answer a bunch of questions and kind of tie up a lot of loose ends and a lot of misconceptions around healing. So I hope y'all enjoy it.
right. So, what kind of questions we got? Now, me and Steve, we talk every day. We talk about healing, our healing journey. We talk about like the process and the steps that we had to go through to get where we're at. And some of you know my story. I've been on an 8-year healing journey, and you know what that looks like. It looks like a lot of isolation for me, and kind of like just going inward, because the healing journey is all inside of us. Every person's journey is different.
Definitely.
What does your journey look like?
Well, I haven't been on my journey as long as you, but I started my journey a year and about 3 months ago. And it was pretty tough. Yeah, definitely the isolation. I can definitely attest to that. It was a lot of isolation, a lot of going inward. I lost a lot of people that I held really close to my heart. I honestly, truly lost myself, or not myself, but who I thought I was.
Right.
So, um, I just want to say it takes a lot of courage to step foot on this journey, regardless of who you are, what your background is, your race. It does not matter. Sexuality does not matter. It takes a lot of courage because you're literally breaking down who you thought you were and breaking down the image that others have put on you, if that makes sense. So
Breaking
it
down
took a
seems a little bit. I say, breaking down seems nice compared to really what's happening is that the old us is dying,
yeah.
dead, and we are reawakened. We are reborn to these divine. We've always been a divine being, but then we realize we become conscious that we are these divine beings having this human experience. But everything that we've gone through has been this lesson, right?
Hmm.
That a lot of people want to say, oh, good and bad, or sin, or whatever. No, I was telling you earlier that the universe doesn't recognize good or bad. It doesn't recognize injustice like we do. That's a human concept. The universe recognizes balance in the universe, balance within us, and that's what we have to. As we heal, we become balanced, of this balanced version of ourselves, when one side of us or all of us might have been toxic or chaotic, you know? So we have these masculine and feminine energies within us that are housed and stored within us, and they have to have union within themselves, and they have to be balanced. So as we go on our healing journey, we go through their distortions. We have to work through these distorted part of ourselves, these shadow aspects of us.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. It's a lot,
Um, just to piggyback off of what you said, like you said, it's actually very beautiful, but you don't always see that while you're in it because literally everything you thought you were is blown away. So now you're like, who am I? You're confused, you're lost, you're like, okay, so that wasn't me, that was just projected onto me, that wasn't my mindset, that was somebody else's mindset. And working through that can be hard, but it's worth it in the end because you finally get to realize, like you said, we are these divine beings and we always have been. That's never going to change. We always have been these divine beings and we always will be these divine beings. It's just a process of remembering that. And once you start this healing journey and you start to break down the walls and the barriers and everything that people taught you, it starts becoming easier and easier and easier to recognize like your triggers, to recognize the things that no longer resonate with you, to recognize the red flags. And it's a process, but you learn. And coming from a religious background, I know you have too, but
Both of
I
us.
yeah, because we were both ministers, we were both
Right.
in the church, so coming from a religious background, a lot of the things that I was taught had to fall off, and that was not easy because sometimes, even now, I still try to the old version of me. I still try to revert back because that was comfortable. That's what I was comfortable being in for 27 plus years. So it's a process, and I definitely can say you have to be gentle with yourself. Most,
Yeah.
yeah,
The religion part did take a while for me to let
yeah,
go of.
me too.
I I mean, I wasn't like one of those ministers. I work with the homeless, and I wasn't, quoting scripture. I was just trying to show them love through my actions. But it did take some time. I grew up in, a Catholic household, and
Yeah,
it's you better be this way or that way. It's very manipulative,
mm,
and
fear.
religion holds us to the lowest vibration of guilt, fear, and shame,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be used to control you. And then people are afraid of like the devil and going to hell if they're bad. We don't
Yeah,
have a God. Part of the healing process is to wake up and understand that we don't have a vengeful God. There's no such thing. The God that's in the Bible that sits on this throne and everybody has to kneel at his feet.
mm-hmm.
It is it's a fairy tale God,
Yeah,
and I look at the Bible now totally different. It's like you're to me they're galactic beings they're talking about, and you're not going to convince me about anything different. Um, because once you heal enough and you become conscious. Now, this is something I just want to go back real quick. About the journey. We are on this journey from the time we come out of the womb. We don't realize we're not conscious about it. We're not thinking about it. We're on autopilot. And then all of a sudden something happens to us to shake us awake. And we start to expand, our mind starts to start thinking outside the box, and our view of the world is not as covered with the veil as it once was. And we start to see these things that we didn't notice before because we were blind, we were asleep. And religion is one of them. Now, I'm not religious whatsoever. I'm no longer a Christian. I don't need that aspect to have this very beautiful connection with the divine that I have.
yeah.
And politics is another thing that will fall away. I don't follow politics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Not.
we don't even watch TV anymore, So I know I don't. I just every once in a while when I get in that void space, when you're like so exhausted from all this healing and going inward, you just kind of like, oh, let me just pop on like a show or so, watch a show. But um, nothing. I can't watch anything like I used to watch. I can't watch any of those violent shows. I can't watch. I used to like watch. I don't know. My whole everything has changed for me.
Yeah,
So, and every day I notice something changes about myself.
yeah. So that's another thing that I wanted to touch on too. For me, like, of course, y'all know we're giving our personal experiences, so everything may not fit you. So for me, a lot of I was a very social person. I could go out into a crowd, 50 plus people, make friends with every last one of them. But now that kind of exhausts me because now that I know how energy works, um, it's very important that you guard that. Because if you knew how valuable your energy was, if you knew how valuable you as a person was, everywhere you go, your energy, you have to protect that. And that's what I was saying earlier about people. I lost a lot of people. I lost a lot of people that didn't resonate anymore, and that's okay. And like I said, be gentle with yourself too, because healing isn't linear. So some days you may feel like, oh, I've grown 30 inches. Tomorrow you may feel like, oh, I only grew an inch. It does not matter. It's going, keep going, keep going. Because how many days I call you and be like, dude, I cannot get out of the freaking bed. Like, and some days I'm like, you're like, oh, you're here, you're there, I'm everywhere. So it's
Yeah.
just be gentle with yourself and be gentle as you go through this process. Everybody's journey doesn't look the same. So some of the stuff that we say may not resonate with you. You may have went through different things, it's just different strokes for different folks. So make sure that you're on your own individual journey and that you're
Following anybody else's. Yeah.
yeah, make sure that's the number one tip that I can give you throughout this whole thing is make sure you're staying true to your journey and yourself and your healing.
Right.
Nobody else's healing is your responsibility. Your healing, your life is your responsibility. That's the biggest thing that I can say throughout this whole process that I have learned, because I was the type of person that would always, everybody else's feelings, I'm putting them on my back. Everybody else's healing, I'm putting it on my back. And I would kind of take control of that. But you will be exhausted and you will not make it if you do that. I'm telling you now. So,
Even as a healer, because
mhm,
that's what I do for a living, even though as a healer, that's not my job. My job is to give you the tools that
yeah,
help. It's like, what's that? The saying is, uh, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but teach a man how to fish and he eats for every
lifetime.
time.
Yeah.
So as a healer, that's my job, is to give people the tools to help them along the way. You know,
Mhm,
um, so it's very important that you don't try to force your views on other people. People
mhm,
will come, your soul tribe will come to you, your support system will come when they resonate with your energy. Those people, that's the people you want around you, not saying my journey is this way, you got to follow my journey. And, I've never once told you had to do the same thing I did, or follow me a certain way, and I know a lot of people will watch other like spiritual gurus, or they'll read their book and then they'll try to fit that into fit their beliefs. And I'm like, no, that's like a cult system. Like when you start following other people's beliefs, the journey is inward. The journey is about you know?
mhm,
So you can't try to force other people to heal before they're ready.
mhm,
um, and we all want people to be, because it's a lonely place. It's a lonely place. So we want people to, we want to pull people up. We want to share all this. I have a friend that I love dearly, and I want her to experience the same thing I'm experiencing. All these positive things and all the inspiration that I get, and this, she's not ready for that. So I just got to keep going forward, and just hope the best for her. But I can't just, be worried about her journey, because it's her journey. The road to spiritual healing is long. It's a long one.
and
You
it's never ending. So
isn't it?
whoever tells you you've reached enlightenment, they're lying to you. they're
Uh,
lying to
I know. I think some people have said, you go on forums and you try to put one comment and they're arguing with you about your perspective and or your experience, and it's my experience. And I had somebody tell me that just being in the now moment is enlightenment. And I'm like, no, it's a lot. Enlightenment is a lot. It might be a form, but it's not enlightenment. I hear people use that term, but then people use spirituality and it's so broad based also. I prefer to say conscious. I'm trying to just be the best version of myself every single day,
that's
and
all.
be aware, just to be aware of my energy, people in my energy field, what triggers me, like you said, like what triggers me and why, because everything is about those core inner child wounds. I mean, you tackle those, that cures illnesses. If you, so That's another topic we can talk about how your guides try to get your attention, and they will make some. If you don't pay attention to them, all of a sudden your legs start to hurt, and you're like, oh my god, my legs hurt. You don't think about it, the spiritual aspect of why your legs hurt. Well, you're not going in the right direction. They're trying to get your attention to go put you in the right direction. So every part of our body has a spiritual meaning to why it could be hurting or why you have an illness or disease, and it's also a part of the healing process.
Yeah, like a lot of people talk about the generational curses, or like for instance my family, my whole family had high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer run throughout the family. Why? Because they weren't doing the work to heal themselves. They weren't listening to the guidance. Hey, you need to stop eating all of these things. You need to stop doing all of these things because as a result of you eating and not taking care of yourself and letting all this stress and all these other things come onto you, now you have these diseases that have manifested themselves into your physical reality. So once you all okay, so to me, breaking a generational curse is just changing the pattern. Stop
Right.
doing whatever you did. That's it. It's not no, I have to pray and say so many affirmations and all these other things that people want to make it seem like it's so hard. It's just changing the behavior pattern.
Yeah.
So just piggybacking off of what you said, like healing the diseases and stuff, like they have that. I don't have that. I'm not experiencing that in my reality because I do not do the same things that they did. I do not follow the same roadmap that they follow. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Yeah, because
it's
our
just
parents, with subconsciously, not consciously, they just spoon feed us their their wounds and their parents' wound, their parents, and that's why it's called generational. And
mm-hmm.
when you keep teaching your children the same way and using the same like manipulations, or you're like, I grew up, children should not be, they should be seen and not heard. That's awful. Your kid can't, I can't, I, you don't, we're not
Right.
say anything. We have to just go away. And yes sir, yes ma'am, but we're not allowed to, like, I don't want to sit on that dude's lap for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, we had no say in anything. And so it's just the way that you grow up. And when you heal these inner child wounds, you stop your patterns, like you said. You don't teach your children that, and that's how it stops. You teach your children
Mm-hmm.
something. You have a say. You don't have to do, what these people want you to. You have your own mind. You can express yourself. You can be who you want to be, and that allows them to grow. So, in reality, the healing process is really learning to reparent yourself, in
Mm-hmm.
a way, um, from you reparent your own inner child,
Mm-hmm. And I
because that
want
child will try to control the narrative. You know what I mean? So,
because of that wounding and stuff. And I want y'all to realize that nowhere in this did we say anything about blaming anybody else, because we realize that the healing journey is ours. We may have been treated a certain way. We may have gotten life handed at us. We may have gotten stuff handed at us we didn't deserve. Okay. But it is your choice, your responsibility to heal. That's not anybody else's responsibility. It's all, like she said, it's inward. It's all you. You can't blame anybody else for your growth but you. And I want y'all to truly take a grasp of that, because that's a hard realization that I had to come to myself, because I would always blame other people. Well, she did this, well, he did that, but what did I do? So
right.
make sure
Yeah,
that
people do get
you
that mentality that the world is after them, the world
yeah.
is against them, and it's, what about your choices that you made? You are a participant in your life. Things are not just happening to you. You are participating. You are making active choices to
Mhm.
participate in whatever toxicity or whatever relationship or whatever's going on. You're making that active choice.
Yeah, so it's personal, and not many people can sit down and face themselves. That's why I say, if you're on this journey, I really am proud of you. For real, it's tough. It's really tough to sit down and face your, and you're gonna realize, hey, most, if not all of these things are my fault. So it's tough. Is
It takes
just
a certain person to face themselves, face their fears, face their shadow self, to like say, this is who I was, and I don't want to be that person anymore. And I'm going
Yeah.
to actively change it, because healing is an action word. Some people
Hmm.
will just say, "Oh, I'm going to look at my inner child wounds," but then they don't change their patterns. They don't stop their behaviors. No, you have to say, "Okay, I understand where this core wound is coming from. I understand what happened to me as a child, and that's why I reacted. But now I know better. So guess what? I'm going to go in the opposite direction. I am going to do something that I didn't do before. I'm going to make the better choice. I'm going to be the best version of me, through whatever it takes. I'm going to, just stop doing the same stuff and change direction."
And a lot of people don't talk about the emotions and the loneliness, the anger, the fear. Like you do experience fear because it's new. You're not comfortable anymore. So like she said, once you do the opposite, it's gonna feel like you're crazy. It's gonna feel like you're going against the grain because now you're not doing what the 99 is doing. You're doing what the
Yeah.
1%. You're
And you're
choosing.
in that unknown. You're in the unknown. Yeah.
New is scary, so just
You're
keep
out
going.
of your zone. You're out of your comfort zone, and you're just like, so.
And a lot of people won't tell you that even the most advanced spiritual people go through this. Not a lot of people will tell you the truth, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, as a teacher, I stumble all the time. I'm not perfect. I used to tell her, like, don't put me on a pedestal or anybody, because I'm stumbling right along with you. Usually, what I do is, once I get through some type of emotional breakthrough, then I can say, oh, okay, this is how I navigated it. This is the steps. It might not be the same steps that you'll take, but at least I can say, give my hand out and say, this is how, come on, let me pull you over that hole, or pull you up the cliff. Because I feel like me and you are constantly throwing each other up the mountain, holding on, throwing, and then climbing up slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So it's an uphill battle all the time, everything. So
Yeah. And another thing is, you'll find your soul tribe, man. Like she said, we talk every single day. You would think that we live right next door, but we're
feels
miles
like it. I wish
right,
we did. That'd be fun. Yeah.
right. But it's like it doesn't matter who's here or who left or who's gone because now I actually have this person who actually gives a shit about my life, who actually wants to see me do better, who actually wants, you know what I'm saying? So don't look at what you lost, look at what you're going to gain. And I was alone for a good little minute. Maybe nine months before I met Shawna. So you meet your people, I promise you. So don't look at the loneliness as, oh, I'm gonna be alone. You gotta be to get to where you need to be. It's a part of the process. We all go through it. So just keep pushing. Don't stop in the storm. It's gonna be sunny on the other side, is all I can tell you.
Well, you guys have a subject you want us to discuss or talk about, you can leave it in the comments, or you can email me through my website. Link will be in the bio. And, we'll just continue this, because I really enjoy this, doing this kind of thing. And I think we can do this podcast every single week.
Yeah, so stay tuned. More to come. We love y'all. Have a good day.
Take care.